And now, last but not least, I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, Mr. Minister, I would like to tell you how pleased we are to see you in the presidency. And since I haven't had this opportunity yet, I would like to congratulate Germany with assuming the presidency of this council in April. We wish you every success. We're also thankful to the Director General of IAEA, Mr. Amano, and the High Representative for Disarmament Affairs, Ms. Nakamitsu, for their briefings. Mr. President, the Russian Federation, as one of the 3 depositaries of the NPT, attaches the utmost importance to the preservation and the stable functioning of this treaty. Its contribution to ensuring international peace and security can hardly be overstated. The treaty has played a crucial role in preventing the proliferation of nuclear weapons, laid the foundation for gradual progress towards disarmament, primarily nuclear disarmament, and for the development of broad international cooperation in the peaceful uses of nuclear energy. It can rightfully be considered an example of the effectiveness of international diplomacy and a shining example of international cooperation to address global problems. Unfortunately, despite all of the undeniable successes of the NPT, it must be recognized that it is approaching its 50th anniversary, and the next review conference, which is to sum up the 5-year cycle of the functioning of the treaty, we are approaching that date in a very difficult context. In the context of the NPT, we are seeing deepening divisions and differences between various groups of states. Attempts are being made to undermine and review universally recognized norms and mechanisms in the area of non-proliferation. And this has recently been compounded by new dangerous trends, which are exacerbating an already complex situation on the nuclear proliferation front. I am referring to attempts to use the NPT review process as a platform to settle political scores, including on issues that have nothing to do with the NPT. Long-standing divisions also remain regarding a number of agenda items in relation to the NPT. Mr. President, the Russian Federation shares the lofty goal of building a world free of nuclear weapons. As a responsible and consistent supporter of the process of nuclear disarmament, we are making our tangible contribution to the further reduction of strategic offensive arms. Last year, we reached the limits for delivery systems and warheads that were set by the START Treaty. Overall, Russia's nuclear arsenal has been reduced by more than 85%. It is evident to us that consistent efforts are required to lay the groundwork for further progress towards nuclear disarmament. First and foremost, this requires improving the strategic situation in certain regions and in the world as a whole. This is only possible through addressing the entirety of factors that are affecting strategic stability and international security. Those factors include, for instance, the unfettered deployment of U.S. global ABN systems, the development of high-precision, non-nuclear offensive weapons, and the prospect of the placement of strike weapons in outer space, and the erosion of the international treaty system in the area of ensuring security and stability and arms control, as well as attempts to decrease the defense capabilities of other countries through illegitimate unilateral sanctions and circumventions of the Security Council of the United Nations. Without addressing these problems, we can hardly create an environment that would be favorable towards further nuclear disarmament. Mr. President, another burning issue in the context of the NPT is the weapons of mass destruction-free zone in the Middle East. The decision of the General Assembly, approved by a majority in December 2018, to convene a conference on a WMD-free zone is meant to launch the practical implementation of the 1995 resolution on the Middle East, and thus positively impact the general state of affairs in the context of the NPT review process. The GAA decision is a logical and balanced one. It does not run counter to the interests of the states in the Middle East region. Russia plans to participate in the conference on the WMD-free zone and contribute to its success, as well as support subsequent efforts towards creating the WMDFZ. It is important for the other nuclear weapons 5 states, as well as all countries in the Middle East, to join efforts to convene and hold the conference. A highly important role in efforts to reduce strategic offensive arms is played by the CTBT, which was meant to erect a solid bulwark against the spread and the improvement of nuclear weapons. Mr. President, we see IAEA safeguards as a key element of the non-proliferation regime. They are meant to prevent the diversion of peaceful uses of nuclear energy towards the creation of nuclear weapons. We firmly intend to continue providing assistance to the IAEA in strengthening its safeguard system. At the same time, it is extremely important to preserve the objective, depoliticized, and technically justified nature of the mechanism, as well as the clarity and transparency of its work for members of the treaty. Russia advocates for the universalization of the additional protocol on IAEA safeguards, which together with the comprehensive safeguards agreements should in the future become a universally recognized norm for verifying states' compliance with their non-proliferation obligations under the NPT. At the same time, we note that adhering to the additional protocol is voluntary. One aspect on which, as we see it, there is agreement among NPT states parties is the use of nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. In accordance with Article 4 of the treaty, states parties possess the inalienable right to use nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, and the current level of technological development allows to combine nuclear and other energy production and lays the ground for improved, more flexible, and efficient energy systems. However, the use of nuclear technologies, as was justly mentioned by Mr. Romano, is not limited to just energy. It extends to uses in other areas, which includes industry, agriculture, medicine, climate, water use, and others. We believe that the NPT significantly broadens possibilities for the peaceful uses of nuclear energy in the interests of sustainable development while eliminating risks to nuclear non-proliferation. Mr. President, to conclude, we would like to express the hope that the upcoming review conference ends positively and that all NPT state parties at a minimum reaffirm the viability and relevance of the treaty, as well as their commitment to uphold their obligations under the treaty. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his statement.